This is In Touch with Terry, a power-packed podcast for the medical aesthetics industry.
I just discovered your podcast, and I feel like I've hit a gold mine.
This is someone who's got a lot of knowledge. She's been there, done that.
Terry Ross is a former Fortune 500 executive, international speaker, founder and co-CEO of Apex Platform, and Terry Ross Consulting.
Just listening to her energy and her passion and just how hardcore she is.
Her knowledge of the industry and just her connections in general are phenomenal.
In Touch with Terry will bring you solutions to increase operational and employee efficiency and practice profitability. Plus, feature some of the top industry experts as guests.
The Apex team literally changed the game for us.
Terry, your courses and your podcast are just so helpful.
She made me feel like I could do this.
3, 2, 1.
Here we go!
Now, here's Terry.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of In Touch with Terry, where I share industry trade secrets, some of the best practices, and I'm so fortunate to have some amazing and incredible experts all contributing to the growth and to you guys thriving for your practices in the aesthetic space. Today, we are going to be talking about a topic that I think is undervalued, only in the sense that people are stuck. They don't know what to do. And that is social media. And I think it's a question my team and I get probably every single day, whether I'm speaking at conferences across the country. What do I do? How do I do it? Where do I go? Oh, I hired, Susie Q off the street and she's going to do it. And we're going to, please don't do that. Dive deep into all that stuff. So I'd like to welcome Claire Larson and Jennifer Hatton, co-founders of MedSpa Social, to really discuss, again, what is often such a huge pain point for practices, and that is the social media strategy and making data-driven decisions based on that strategy. So girls, when did we meet? I know it was at an AmSpa show, yes?
Boot camp in Houston, yeah.
Before we just even kind of dive in, our consulting team gets tons of questions all the time on the topic of social media. A lot of it is around the strategy and how to align the strategy. And Terry, what things do I market? Or again, they think they can hire somebody who just maybe is, a great poster or who's a influencer, but they don't know anything about a real tactical and strategic plan. And more importantly, they don't even know anything about the aesthetic space. So people get tripped over, again, what types of content to post and what platforms to post on. I mean, shit, I only know enough to be dangerous.
Isn't that true of so many people?
Craziness. So I'm telling you what I hear and what I get, and you guys are going to break it down and get down and dirty to really help practices learn the tricks of the trade, learn the social media strategy. And I'm so excited to have you. So Claire and Jen, can you just share with the tribe here a little bit about you guys? You have a really great, impressive background. I'd love for them to learn a little bit more about you.
Sure. So Jennifer and I have both worked in digital strategy and social media marketing for about 15 years each. We always tell people we were in this space even before Instagram was a thing. That's how you know we have been here forever. And so we've really watched it evolve and change over time. And we've worked with brands, huge brands, retail brands, travel and tourism. We've worked in advocacy, all kinds of different areas. And then we loved working with a med spa who was a client of ours at a firm where we worked together, and we loved it so much. And in our research about med spas and aesthetic practices, we said, this is awesome. We should be doing this and just this, and decided that we wanted to focus on aesthetic practices and started MedSpa Social together to really help aesthetic practices be strategic about social media and stop asking their teenage niece to run their social media for their business and actually have experts help to do that right.
I'd love it. So I'm going to break it down a little bit more. Yeah. Jennifer, anything to add? And do you guys have the same skill set and background?
So we have very similar, but at the same time, complementary, as far as we have similar experience, but we are drawn towards different areas of it. And I think that helps make Claire and I a really solid team. But one thing that we both are very passionate about, as Claire said, we've worked with a lot of different industries, and we worked a lot in the hospital system. We had urgent care. And so coming from that, having that medical piece coming into the aesthetic space has been really helpful as far as understanding laws and disclosures and things like that. So that's where, when you bring in somebody that doesn't have the medical background, that we find that a lot of places get in trouble. And one thing that I want to say before that will kind of help our whole discussion is, when you talk about being online, and you were talking about just hiring whoever, is that you really do have to have someone that understands the aesthetic space and that is familiar with the rules and the laws, because we have people reach out to us all the time that, get banned on Facebook because they posted things they weren't supposed to. But knowing the space and the rules that are specific to it, but also recognizing there's a difference between being an influencer on TikTok or Instagram or wherever it is, and representing your brand if you're out there promoting your aesthetic practice. So depending on if you want to be an influencer, great, there's strategies for that. But most people are not wanting to be an influencer. They are wanting to promote their practice and their experience. And so that's really what we want to talk about and explain today. But I think there's a lot of confusion because people tell us, like, I don't want to be the whole face of my channel. I don't want to dance. Those are two very different spaces.
Yeah. Well, one, really impressive background. So I know you mentioned, again, hospital settings, retail background, travel. When you had this med spa client, it sounds like at a previous firm, and you said you started to do research into the space. Tell me what you guys found in your research as to why you decided to start a company focused in aesthetic medicine.
There's so much space for growth here, and people are entering the space every day. And when you have people who are starting, especially when we realized how many of these practices are owner operated, it's maybe one or two people who are running the entire show, and they're wearing so many different hats and trying to do so many different things, that they really needed help in this area. And that's something that we really wanted to give people their time back and to let them focus on what they're good at and let us focus on what we're good at. And not going to lie, part of it was that I was like, maybe I can get free Botox at some point.
Keeping it real. Listen, let's keep it real.
I have to be honest,
reach out if you want to trade for Botox.
That was part of, I was like, listen, it's great. We work with so many different industries, but let's go somewhere and take our skills somewhere where maybe we can get something out of it too. We all want to look younger,
Well, a couple of things I love that I hear you saying that I don't hear often is that even when it comes to the website and or social media, we don't hear a lot of talk about the laws and disclosures and compliance ever. It's just like, I'm just going to post this shit and this thing. And then I'm like, the post has no consistency and it doesn't match the branding of the website. And then it's this treatment today, fillers, and then it's boob jobs tomorrow. And I'm like, oh my God, this is a mess. We can't do all that stuff. So I'm loving that you're bringing this legal aspect to it too. And you guys also know that I'm a big believer in staying in your lane. I do not claim to know everything. I'd like to be the Holy Grail, but I'm not. I know a lot. But be an expert, be in your zone of genius, really be in your zone of genius. And this is why I love so much that we help practices, again, be profitable, optimize, be efficient, training. I mean, all the things so they can, make money and I'll hopefully have a great exit strategy. And you guys are such a huge component of that social media marketing piece. So I think it's really important. And I really would love to hear the definition from you guys. When people think of social media, so many verticals, right, these days.
Yeah.
It sounds silly, but I don't think it is, even for myself. Like, what is social media? What is the point of it? What's the intention of it? And then when these people are like Instagramming, hey, how much do you charge for cool sculpting? And then somebody just, right? Tell me in your words, what is the impetus of it other than just brand identity and recognition?
One of the reasons that social is so important, especially for brands, is that it is the way to connect. It's about relationships. It's right there in the name, social media. It's not a static ad that you put up and there's no interaction. The whole point of it is to be interacting, to be building relationships. And that's really what people use social media for. Even when it's with a brand or a business or a product, they're still looking to build a relationship there. And there are so many opportunities to do that and to build trust, to educate, to connect with people, and really become their go-to source for information about skincare or about procedures, whatever it is. People want to feel like they're connecting with your business or with you. And that's really what social media is about those relationships and connections.
Look, if we think about the aesthetic space, it's highly competitive. I say this on stage a lot. What's not a commodity is you, right? The providers and the brand recognition and the trust and all the things that you just talked about. But when we think about it from what we do here at Apex Platform and what we teach is that, one, we back into the services that yield a high return on investment from a marketing perspective. And then we say, okay, well, your team has to be trained to convert those leads, because if they're not, you're just wasting money. So when you're bringing this social aspect of it, look at what if somebody's writing in your Facebook and your Instagram all day long? How much is this? I saw you offer this. And what do you think about that? How do you guys coach teams? Even from a staffing perspective, not everybody has the manpower to be responding in that timely fashion. And so what do you guys see from your end?
I mean, one of the number one tools that we suggest people put into place is having a standard response document that what the answer is to those questions that you get all of the time. How much is this? Do I need to book a consultation? Whatever the questions are that you get, how long does this procedure take? What's the recovery like? Make a document that is those questions with responses that that it doesn't matter if it's the person who answers your phones or a medical assistant or you, whoever is answering those questions has a consistent, clear response that that you as the owner of that practice approve of, feel confident in, feel good about, and that you're getting consistent information out there. And that also makes it easier to outsource some of that answering, because that maybe somebody doesn't know the specifics of that off the top of their head, but they can look in this document and see, the recovery time from that is 3 days, your skin will be back to normal and you'll be able to wear makeup and go out again. And that your clients are getting consistent and correct information no matter who you have answering. And that allows you to really get in there and have a faster response time, because you're not having somebody come find you and say, somebody asked what the recovery is like from this. Do you know? Or how long does this procedure take? Or how many, syringes of Botox will they need? And finding you and then getting back to it. And maybe they get distracted and they have to answer the phone and they never answer that question. And then that person says, well, I'm going to go somewhere else where they answer my questions. And I'm going to go to a different place that responded when I asked.
Yeah,
and
processes are so critical for time savings. And as Claire said, like consistency. And if you have somebody that's in there performing the procedures that's making the big money, you don't want to be interrupting them constantly or them to be the only person that has that information. So being able to develop that document and that information. Also, if there's something that you're getting asked a lot, that's a great topic to create some content on. Maybe you need to have a video that explains that, or put something together that you can push people to answer some of those questions. But monitoring and responding to people and interacting with them and providing that customer service is very important, but it can be very time consuming. So having consistency and processes really, just like everywhere else in business, it's very critical for social.
Love that. Okay, so one of my first questions is, how should aesthetic practices be using data to choose which social media platforms they should use most of the time and get the most attention?
So I think the first thing is, who is your audience? You know your perfect patient, right? To come into the practice, and you may already have them on social or you may not, but looking to see who your target is, first of all, is the most important. And then from there, picking the spaces where they're most likely to be. There are differences between Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and Twitter and all the different spaces. So being able to match your age and location demographics to who is on those social channels is really important.
We always say, like, who's your avatar client? And it's so interesting because I know from a consultant perspective, somebody can easily say, well, they're now in their 20s and up into their 70s and they make over, right, $100,000 a year and they spend this much money and all that sort of generic kind of stuff. But if we think about, right, men are growing at double digits, right? We do have a younger population, so I think, Tribe, what it is really important is that you have to run your data. And I know we also get a lot of questions about your practice management software and they don't know what reports to run. So please take an opportunity that you're not just looking at how much revenue you brought in last year, since we just finished Q1, look quarter over quarter and then look who is coming in the most and the frequency and the age range, the demographics. And that is super important. But Jen, I want to ask you then, if we're trying to talk about a social media strategy, and you're right, somebody might be on Instagram who's younger and Facebook because they're a little bit older and whatever it is, or somebody looking at Reels. Is the strategy the same or is it tweaked a little bit based on those verticals and the demographic?
So for the most part, we would recommend you talking to those audiences specifically. So if you have Facebook and Instagram, you wouldn't auto post everything across the channels. You may want to tweak the wording a little bit, but I also think because somebody is using your management software, they're able to dig down in and see who is using what services. So then maybe I would talk about the services for those older clients on Facebook, and then I would talk about something else or do some other type of education. So obviously it's dependent on time, but really being able to tailor the content to the audiences. Something we talk about a lot that we see in practices is kind of like silos, like this person just comes for this kind of treatment and these people only come for this treatment, but they don't get multiple things. So finding out, okay, I know this younger audience really likes this treatment. Here's something that pairs with it. We're going to do more education over here on Instagram for that. So it really informs your strategy when you look at what they are comfortable with, what you need more education on, and then talking to them differently. For example, on Instagram, and the same with TikTok, using hashtags is great. If you fill up half of your caption on Facebook with hashtags, you're going to irritate people. They don't want to see hashtags.
Every algorithm is a little bit different. And so you really want to work to that algorithm where you want your patients to come from, because you don't want to spend, especially if you are that owner operator, that you are wearing 7 different hats. Don't waste your time trying to master 7 different social channels. Pick one where you know that your client base will be and master that. Yeah. Have a presence everywhere else where you have your name locked down and everything is in your name so that you can expand there later when you have the time and budget for it. But master one where you know that your clients are, where you know that you will reach them, and do that one really, really well instead of trying to do 7 different channels, sort of okay.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's so brilliant. We touched on it a little bit in this previous question, but when we are talking about the demographics for those that are not social media savvy, what are the demographics in your minds or perspective, or right in each of these verticals where people are most today?
So Facebook is going to skew a little bit older. More than half of Facebook users are over 35, whereas on Instagram, only about a third of them are over 35. And then TikTok is going to skew much younger. Most of them are under 35. Those are kind of, generally speaking, Facebook's for a slightly older crowd. Instagram is going to be more your 35 to 50-ish. And then TikTok is going to be younger, but also people use those platforms in different ways. Yeah. And so people on Facebook are going to local business pages at least once a week, most users. So they are using it for that. Yeah. More than 60% of Instagram users use it to research product or brand before they purchase. And so people really do use those two platforms much more than TikTok to research, to connect with businesses and brands. And so if you're looking for younger clients, TikTok might be where you reach them, but they're going to be using the app in a slightly different way. And so you're going to have to tweak your content to that.
Yeah, I love the stats you just gave, because I just don't think, and again, some people may, I don't want to put everybody in this same small box, but I think knowing what you just said, how people are using the platforms from a business perspective, not just everybody on their phones twiddling around and searching around, right? Looking at something, but they can be strategic in those efforts as well. So when we think about like placing ads, and you know, this is so craziness. I swear to God, even me, Terry Ross Consulting, I just reached my 10,000. I was like, woohoo, all organic. Yay. I know.
That's awesome.
Oh my God. I'm so
really
happy.
good.
I know. But you know, I'll tell you, it is a beast. And I am out there, like I'm this social butterfly, but there are even shit I see. I mean, people doing these videos and then they're pointing at things and things are dropping down. And then the TikTok, they're in different outfits. And I literally, I was like, this is insane. I was like, this is crazy. How am I even going to know how to do all this stuff? Right. And I work with the firm. But when we think about, and then you see like running ads, and then I'm like, oh shit, like I should be doing that. Like, there's all this FOMO because you just kind of just don't know, but you see things that are working and things that aren't. So when we're thinking about placing ads, how does this help with targeting? Because and I want you guys to come at it from your perspective too, but then I'm also always looking at it from my client's perspective, because this is where I find I'll look at their P&L and like the marketing budget's so inflated. And I'm like, wait a minute, you're not ready to put it there, or you should, but then you don't have a company to do it right? Yeah.
Well, think about, first of all, would you go out and spend thousands of dollars to buy a TV ad and have your website across the bottom and you don't have a website? Or your website is horrible, or it doesn't load quickly. So if you think about putting money behind ads can be extremely effective, but people are going to click through that really cool, flashy ad on Instagram or Facebook, and they're going to look at your Instagram feed. And if you haven't posted anything consistently, or if your colors are all over the place. Or if it looks
like shit.
Yeah. Yes, because the thing is this is a industry based on beauty. And if somebody goes to your page and your colors are all over the place, it looks like you just picked something cute every other day. Are they really going to trust you with their face and their body when you don't know what looks pretty or doesn't? People don't think that it makes a big difference, but it does. You spend thousands and so much work making inside of your practice beautiful and welcoming, and you pick out chairs and all of these things. But this is the experience that people are getting to represent you before they walk through your doors, before they decide to schedule. So you can do those ads, but if you don't have something on your feed that people can click through and they're like, oh, they've only have 3. I actually saw one a couple of months ago. I was like, hey, this is a great post. And I clicked through, they had 3 posts on their wall, and that was it. And I was like, well, obviously they spent big bucks to hire somebody to come in to make this cool, flashy ad, but there was nothing that I could learn about their practice from that. So your money will go farther if you do a good job keeping, putting your content out there and making the wall or the feed, whatever it is, look great. It's going to actually support those ad dollars and make them go farther.
That's actually one of the ways that we get clients, is that marketing firms will come to us and say, we have a client that we're running social ads for and they're not working. Can you help them? Because they don't do organic social media, and have clients who are spending money on ads that just aren't working because their actual organic social looks terrible or isn't helpful or is ugly. And marketing people come to us and say, hey, we need you to help our client because it's making us look bad that they have this shitty Instagram because our ads aren't working because of that. And so we have to come in and help. You can't expect those things to do well, and you're just flushing money down the toilet if you're throwing money at it, but there's nothing to back it up.
Yeah, a lot of people are putting money into ads, a lot of practices, and not getting the return just because they're kind of doing things out of order. And that comes back to being strategic, is not jumping around, is, pick a channel, do a really good job on that, and then maybe add a second one, and then run ads on those channels that you're strong on so that people can come back and see that you're interacting. They can see faces of your employees. They can learn about your practice. I mean, it's such a great place for people to information gather and decide that they want to come in and spend money with you. I mean, we're not asking people to spend $5. We're asking people to spend a lot of money on things that alter their physical appearance
and trust you with their face.
Yeah. Yes, that's a big,
or body.
A big deal.
Yeah.
No, of course. I love that. How can someone, assess which posts are performing well and which ones are resonating? And I know this is a loaded question, and we're going to get in toward the end about how you guys work and how you're different and what you do, and how, so that the tribe can really understand what makes you a little bit different. I think that's important, but I think it's also important as we're going into this data part now. It's not just a post. It's like, where is it going, on what vertical, how many people are seeing it? This is what I find fascinating too. People will be like, oh my God, I had all these likes. And I'm like, well, I mean, do the likes live in Dubai? I mean, I don't know.
Exactly.
That's a good
we
question.
say that all the time. And the numbers are such a controversial subject, but something that we say all the time to people is, you don't need 250,000 followers. You don't need to have 1 million likes. You don't need to go viral. You need people in your community to walk in your door.
Yeah.
And that is really where your bread and butter is. That's how you make your money, is people walking in your door and spending money inside of your practice. And so people get really wrapped up in numbers and think, I need to hit this specific target. I need to have this. And for us, we always say to people, what are your goals in your practice? Because that's what we want. And social should be supporting your goals in your practice. Social shouldn't be a goal that's arbitrary on its own. I want to have X number of followers, because it doesn't matter if you have those followers if they're not booking appointments. And so we always want people to really think about, what are my goals? Are my goals to be booked solid? Are my goals to be that I want to be making enough that I have to hire a new employee? And how is my social media supporting that? And if you have 1,000 followers and they're really engaged, and those followers are making appointments and they love you and they're recommending you to other people, that is much more valuable than having 10,000 followers who like your post and then scroll right on by and never make an appointment. And so it's really about making that connection between online and offline.
What I love that you guys were talking about is really that social media is about understanding the goals you have for it, right? And not just, I want to have social and I want to have 1 million likes and put it everywhere. But often when we work with clients, the sad part is they don't even have any goals, or it is a little bit of an arbitrary number, or they are picking, hey, I want to grow 20% over last year, but it's not being correlated into goals as the company, or goals per provider, or goals per procedure, which would align with a social media strategy, right? I don't want people to spend an ad with you, Jen, on freaking hair removal, and it doesn't make any money. But I'm going to put ads toward maybe Morpheus 8 or Halo or something that's a little bit more, right? Again, a higher return on investment that's going to get a higher patient coming in. So I really like that you are focused and believe in the data part of things.
Right. And social is just like any other part of your business. If you don't have a goal, how do you know that you're meeting it? How do you know that the resources that you're putting behind it? And in some ways, as much as we have data, some things with social, like interactions and things, are a little bit hard to measure. You can't necessarily say, well, I did 10 posts and that turned around and had, this many people signed up. It's the journey is not quite as clear as maybe if you go to the website and people click through, but having goals helps you to know if you're meeting them, but it also informs the post that you put, the call to action that you add on there, the ads that you place. And, we do hear people say like, well, I want to double my numbers this year. Well, why? What are you going to do with double the clients that's better than what you're doing right now? And are you even doing enough for the 2,500 that you have right now or the 500? Are you providing amazing customer service and educating them? Are you driving them towards, you can put, a lot of times people get very focused. We hear like, oh, I want a viral video. I want a video that's going to be viral. Well, a video that's viral is great if you're an influencer and you're selling a digital product. But if you have a practice that somebody has to walk their self in, then having somebody that's in another country, and I know we do have clients that people travel to come see them, but those are usually relationships that are developed. That is not the majority. The majority of people are not going to come to another country to get that service. So viral and pulling in people, yes, you're getting views, but that is not putting people in your treatment chairs. So really talking through what your goal is and how it is going to impact your business and what are the purpose of these posts. Sometimes it is absolutely okay in your strategy to have a fun post or a silly post or something that's just going to be lighthearted and make people laugh, but you can't have all of your posts be that way. You've got to educate people. You have to talk about treatments, and even down to what treatments you should talk about most on social really can be informed by using data.
Of course, we're going to teach them that part. Okay, so you guys are talking about metrics. What metrics? Because like you said, it's not so cut and dry. It's not a cookie cutter thing. What metrics should practices be analyzing?
So we definitely do recommend to check in on how you're doing with likes, with comments, with shares and saves. And you can see all of that on the back end through Meta, Facebook or Instagram, and TikTok as well through TikTok's platform. All of those, if you have a business account, which you should, if you are a business on social, you should have a business account, and it lets you look at those analytics and you can see over time how things change, what things work well, what things haven't worked well. And then something else that Jennifer and I always talk about is something's always going to be on the bottom of that list. Anytime you're ranking something for most likes or most comments, something has to be at the bottom. And sometimes there are things that you have to share. Like if your hours are changing, if you're closed for a holiday, that kind of service information that's boring, it's not sexy. People don't really care to like it or comment on it.
It's not going to go viral.
So, yeah, it's definitely not going to be your viral post, but you still need to put that out there. So you need to know that some things aren't going to be your star of the show and they're going to be at the bottom of your list, and that's fine. What is a problem is if you're looking and you've posted those kind of service things and those aren't your bottom of the list, if the ones where you're educating people, where you're telling people about a sale, where you're introducing a new staff member, if those are not performing well, you need to look at how did I present this information? What kind of sound did I use if it was a reel? What sort of content was it? Can I share that again in a different way that might resonate better with this audience? Because you don't want those kinds of posts to be the ones that are not getting likes, are not getting comments, are not being interacted with.
Engagement in general is very important. It's, a lot of people are like, hey, I got, 1 million eyeballs on my video or things. And impressions, they're usually very popular and they make people feel good because the numbers are really big. But engagement, where somebody is actually doing something, whether they're liking it, they're asking you a question, they're saving it because they want to look back at that later, or they're sharing it to their stories for their friends. I mean, those are really the things that you want the most, is somebody to actually engage with your content.
Because that comes back to that social aspect of social media, that those are the kinds of interactions with your social media that are relationship building, that are not, here, I put this thing out and you can look at it and move on. You want to build those relationships, and you can tell that that's working when people engage with what you've posted.
So let's stay on that topic for a minute, because, when we think about a practice, and in the level of engagement, and then you want that, and people are writing in and commenting and chiming in or whatever they're doing. Somebody on the back end, on the other receiving end, has to be commenting back. And so how do you guys coach your practices in terms of how do they do that? I mean, so let's just say they hire you, and we're going to get to that's going to be my next question. They hire you, and now you guys are kicking ass. And then now all these people are commenting. That's great. I love it. Oh my God. What about this? What about that? It's one thing, and I love it, that you mentioned to everybody that if there are standard questions or topics or hours and procedures and time and cost and this and that, come up with some automated thing. Makes sense. But what if it's just conversation, right? Do they need to have somebody in-house who can be conversing? And then what if they're busy with patients and then they miss it? Like, how do you manage that part of it?
We're all about systems. So it can be managed in a few different ways, but it has to be clear who is in charge of having those conversations. So if it is you as the owner and you feel like I am the only person who can do this, which is not true, let us talk to you. We can help you figure that out. But whatever you decide is the system, whoever is going to be responding. If you say everybody has a login, from the person who answers the phones to the medical assistants, everybody can do that. You need to assign somebody. So whether it's each person in the office gets a day of the week or people get certain times, you have to know. Otherwise, everyone's going to assume that somebody else is doing it. And then the other side of that is then 6 people are answering one question at the same time, and it's just not efficient. So whatever you want your system to be, who you trust to engage with those customers on social, you have to have a plan for when and who is doing that. Because otherwise it gets lost because people are busy. Your practice should be busy. People should be coming in and out, and people should be engaging with your clients who are there in the space. And because of that, you need to assign this as a task to either a group of people or an individual and be very clear about whose job it is to do that.
And I think there's different types also. We actually got asked this question a week or two ago. We did a training in Florida, and one of the participants asked, they just opened a second location, and she's like, do I have to go through and respond to everyone that's like, great job, congratulations, you go girl, so proud of you, blah, blah, blah. Well, no, you don't necessarily. You can go through, you can just use the little heart that, you're acknowledging it. But there are some comments or some people that, hey, I've been there since the beginning. And I'm like, hey, Terry, it's so good to hear from you. You have been supporting us since our very first location. I miss you. I haven't seen you in a while. Like, reaching out and having those conversations where you care and you're acknowledging people is important, but it doesn't mean that you have to spend hours responding, coming up with something to say to every good job or that's super cool. Just acknowledging and picking and choosing the times that you want to thank people. If you have somebody that comments really often, we all appreciate those people and just want to hug them that are very involved and care about your business, because you do have those supporters and you want to prioritize those, but you don't have to acknowledge or come up with a response for everyone.
Good tips. Okay, let's talk about the real deal here. How do you guys work with your clients? And then who is your avatar? And I think that's going to be really important because you guys have a very specific niche in the way that you do things. And I think it's really important so that we can understand that.
So our avatar is really those owner operators, especially people who are just getting started. If you have 7 locations and your business is booming, your budget should include an in-house social media manager. You are large enough and your budget should be large enough that should be a priority and a line item in your budget. But we also really understand that not everybody is at that point yet. You have to start from somewhere, and we really try to help those people who are just starting out, who it is just them or it is just a small team, and they really need to prioritize that time in the procedure room and can't be spending tens of hours every week and month trying to get social off the ground too, because that's valuable time that they should be in a procedure room. So those are really the heart of our business, are those smaller operations.
Those ones that have been doing their process has been working great, and they're ready to expand to open a second or a third location. And now they realize they can't be in all the places. So they really need those systems. They were able to efficiently work it with one, but it's not going to help them expand going forward. So that's where, coaching and helping put in those systems is really helpful for them as they expand to keep quality control.
Yeah, definitely. And you guys have a couple different offerings. Yes. Is that something you want to talk about right now? Or do you want we can put it in the show notes? What's best for you?
Yeah, we can talk about it. So we have, one of our options is really for people just starting out where they don't have a huge budget. And that's our membership, our content membership, content that is strategic, that is varied, that comes in different forms that we have thought about, that really is for that specific time, gets delivered to you once a month, and you can edit it if you would like to, or you can just post it. There's captions included. It's like social media in a box. It's not going to be the fanciest. It's not going to be the most thrilling, but it is solid and gives you a solid foundation. So if you are putting money behind ads, if you are reaching out to people, you have that solid, branded, consistent look to your Instagram, and you're covering all of your bases with education and fun and sales and that mix. And that really covers everything. We also do some coaching for people, as Jennifer was talking about, as you're growing and expanding, and you've maybe had a system, but you have grown to a new location, you've added more procedure rooms, you've gotten a new machine, your business is booming, and you need to expand your social to match that. We coach businesses and aesthetic practices through that process of growing to match your social media to the size of your business now. And then we also help people as they move even beyond that. And we assist people with the hiring process of bringing in an in-house social media manager, because it is really important that you get somebody who is skilled and knows how to help a business grow on social, as opposed to being an influencer is a skill, and it is definitely a job and people work for it, but it's a different skill set than having a business grow on social. And we love to help people bring in the right talent for that job to help them grow even further with an in-house social media manager.
Oh my God, so good, you guys. This was really incredible. I mean, even for me, like I said, I was so honored to have met you guys. I think, was it last year? Right? It was
last year. Yeah.
Last year. I think, it's always great to support other women who have great experience, longevity just in the space with your marketing backgrounds and your social media backgrounds. And then, applaud you for your transition into the space. I think you're going to do very well. And I really appreciate, and I know that the aesthetic community will appreciate, especially if you think about, over 50% of people that go to some of these conferences are new, or they're a non-core wanting to get into the space, and they don't have these huge, big budgets. And, we have our whole startup program, and we talked about that, and we've helped over 100 practices launch, and they have to start somewhere. So I love the offerings that you guys do. I love the education. I love the data that you put forth. I love your philosophy about what social really means, that you're not just in it to, make money and post some bullshit out there, but you're really in it to help clients get the foundation. So I, like you said, the whole done it for you in a box. Get something. I know, Jennifer, get something up there that looks good, that looks consistent.
Well, and I think, something you were saying, like how much you care and you start cheering people on and you get to know them and you become friends with them, is like the more people we talk about, like so many of them are putting everything into starting this business. And yes, it's a lucrative industry. I think they said at the medical spa show that it's doubling every 5 years. But the thing is that the competition is getting thicker. Sure. And what is going to differentiate you from the people down the street? And when we talk to people, it's incredible how the trainings that they go to and the care and the ethics. And when you really talk to them about how passionate they are about the aesthetic space, is helping to get that out across on social so that it does differentiate them, so that people understand why their training is different or superior or better, what sets them apart. And the cool thing is when you help people do that, it changes their business and they own those businesses. That's, how they pay their bills. And it's very neat to work with the smaller agencies and get to see them be successful and help people get to know them as a person.
I know. I love that. It truly is the most rewarding career. Not even job. Well, Jennifer and Claire, thank you so much for being with me today. I think it was an amazing podcast. You're so welcome. Thank you for bringing so much wealth of information to the tribe here on here. And you guys, if this was valuable to you, I know that Claire and Jennifer are going to provide a downloadable asset around a social media checklist. You can find that in the show notes. And how can people reach out to you guys if they want to schedule a call?
So they can go to medspasocial.com and they can schedule a call with us through there. They can see all of our offerings, some results from clients that we've worked with before, and connect with us. And we would love to talk to you. And even just if you're like, I don't know what I need, I don't know what questions to ask, hop on a call with us and we can help you figure out what questions you need to be asking and where is a good place to start.
Thank you guys so much. And as always, if you guys want to stay updated on all of our industry news, our upcoming events, our platform releases, industry news, and all the great stuff that we have to offer, please click the link in our bio and don't forget to follow us on all of our social media channels, Terry Ross Consulting and Apex Platform. Jen and Claire, thank you so much again for being here with me today. You guys, please take advantage of their resources. And I appreciate all of you. Please send this to somebody if you found it valuable. Always, always, always. I love your comments and your feedback. So I will see y'all on the next episode of In Touch with Terry. Ciao, guys.
Thanks for listening to In Touch with Terry. We invite you to schedule a discovery call with our Apex team. The link to apexplatform.com can be found in the show notes. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode of In Touch with Terry.